Welcome. Tonight we're just going to do a bit of an update looking at what has happened with the models over the last couple of days. There's definitely been a couple changes. I'm just going to let a couple more people hop on here, and I'm going to share a link somewhere. And then once we have a few more people, we'll begin talking about what is going down in the models here. So stand by just for a moment. All right, here we go. I see plenty of you. Hey guys, I hope you're all having a good night. Benjamin Yurkovich here with Washington Weather Chasers. Currently just going to take a look at some of the changes that have happened in the models the last couple of days. So what we're looking at right now is a model run that ran early on Monday morning. And this is the model that I did my last video update about. And with this European model run that ran, it showed like the perfect configuration trough. This would have brought a modified Arctic front down the I-5 corridor, epic conversion zones and snow and all this. But there have been a couple changes over the last couple runs. If you're a snow lover, all hope is not lost, but it's not looking like we're going to get this perfect trajectory trough at the moment, at least with the initial trough. So let's take a look at what has happened with the model. So this is a couple days ago on Monday morning, and this is looking at today. So here you can see that now it looks like the trough, it comes down close to the United States border right there in southwest BC. And there's like brutally cold Arctic air bottled up right there behind it, coming down. Really impressive Arctic air mass coming down the Yukon into BC. Big 1064 millibar high up there. And again, take a look at this configuration and then take a look at what it was doing a couple days ago. So a couple days ago, it was coming right out of south central BC into northern Oregon, southern Washington. And that's the kind of trajectory that we want, a little bit over the water right there for good, cold, big snow. But now with this trajectory, instead of moving west like I was concerned about it doing, the trough trended further north. And so now it comes off kind of like northern BC, almost like north central BC, and the trough comes back into South BC, northern Washington. And this kind of trajectory, it keeps the majority of the air bottled up in BC. By the way, if you're watching on Facebook, good to see all of you guys. Go ahead and heart this post if you love snow. Go ahead and wow it if you hate snow. Hit that bell icon so you get the notifications. And likewise for you over at YouTube, if you're enjoying this, go ahead and hit that like button and consider giving us a subscription. So now, looking over at the GFS, it's in kind of agreement with the initial position of the trough for the European, except for it's not quite as good. And we're going to look through the progression of the trough a little bit more. I'm just showing you guys how much it's changed from Monday. And then looking at the Canadian model, it's in pretty good agreement, at least for Sunday, with the European. And this is looking at the extent of the cold. So this is the run that ran on Monday. So you can see this is looking at the temperature anomaly at about 5,000 feet aloft in Celsius. And we were having like major temperature anomalies. And it's still going to get brutally cold up there in BC. But you see how a lot of it spilled out over the Pacific Ocean right there off of the British Columbia coast and back into Washington. This right here would be perfection for getting a lot of cold and a lot of snow into Washington. Now the way it's looking with the most recent model runs is this cold air mass comes down into BC, and then you watch this. It kind of gets stuck. It kind of gets stuck right there in BC. Some of it spills out into the water, but instead of getting brought back down all the way into southern Washington, into Oregon, like this model showed. I'm going to show you this again. See how right there it showed all that cold air going all the way down to South Washington into Oregon. It kind of only brings it into southern BC and North Washington. But as we go further along, the European eventually does spill some more cold air further south. But at this point in the model, we're still looking so far out that my confidence in this happening about 6 days from now is not extremely high, but I do think there are still chances for snow, which we're going to talk about in just a moment here. So this is looking at the European model, the most recent one that has run. There is the 0Z model running right now, so if you guys hang with me for a bit, we'll be able to see what the most recent model run that's running right now will show. But this morning's model run of the European on Saturday has some snow starting for the mountains. Back on Monday, it was showing a modified Arctic front coming down the I-5 corridor, but it's backed off in that timing. Now it shows snow on Saturday, through Saturday night, into Sunday morning. And then coming into Sunday morning here, the snow levels begin to lower a bit, especially up in Whatcom County and maybe Skagit. Maybe bring a little bit of lowland snow to places like Whatcom County and Skagit. Some snowflakes, some wet snowflakes might fall in places like Snohomish County. But before I get any further with this, I just want to push a giant pause button and say that at this point, we're already looking 4 days in advance, and the models could change a lot. So right now, the European model is showing kind of like a rain-snow mix for places like Snohomish County, maybe even King County, places like Clallam County, Northeast Jefferson County, the island counties. But it could trend colder or it could trend warmer for Sunday. Exactly what's going to happen, we do not know. If you live over in eastern Washington, you can see that there's some snow showers that are probably going to happen over there. But right now, what the European model is showing is maybe a bit of snow for Whatcom County, Skagit County, some rain-snow mix for Snohomish County, maybe King, Clallam, Jefferson, North Kitsap. And then as we go later into the day, like 7 p.m. on Sunday, the European does eventually switch it over in places like Snohomish County, Island County, and brings a decent amount of snow. It keeps on snowing on this morning's European run through Monday morning. And then come Tuesday, it brings kind of a bit more of a juicy system into the southern regions. But the position of this system right here on Tuesday could change. The GFS has this being further north. But all hope is not lost if you love snow. It's not looking like it's going to get quite as cold at the moment. It's not looking like we're going to have a super powerful Arctic front. In my opinion, it's not looking like we're going to get a bona fide Arctic blast. But I do think we're still going to get some snow in here. Looking at this morning's European run snow totals, you can see that it still brings a decent amount of snowfall to the area. But this could all change. Again, we're looking way out on the model. I think the time frame that we really should only focus on is out until about Monday. And then we'll worry about any systems that come after Monday later. So at the moment, basically Whatcom County down to about Snohomish County is what the European model is thinking for snow. Eastern Washington, central Washington gets some snow too. Let's take a look at the GFS. The GFS doesn't show quite as much snow on Sunday and Monday. It does show some snow, maybe up in Whatcom County late on Sunday night into Monday morning. And then it brings a system in further north than the European and actually brings rain to the lowlands. Look at that. Rain to the lowlands. So there's definitely some disagreement in the models. Looking at the Canadian model here, has a bit of snow coming in, starting on Saturday night in the mountains and the foothills, maybe up in Whatcom County, Skagit County. Sunday morning has a bit more snow falling in places like Skagit, Whatcom, maybe a rain-snow mix in Snohomish County. Then by later in the morning on Sunday morning, the Canadian model has all snow for places like Snohomish County, and then it moves it even further down south with kind of like a modified Arctic front look. And then it brings more snow into the area on Tuesday, which we're not going to worry too much about just yet. So why all the differences? What is going on with the models? Let's go ahead and go a little bit into a loop here on the GFS. Actually, no, we'll start with the European. And if you guys hang with me for just like another 5 or 10 minutes, the European night run, the next run is running right now, and we'll be able to take a look at that in just a few minutes. But right now we're looking at this morning's run. So we have that trough. It comes down. It comes right up against the Canadian border. And then you can see that so right there is Sunday. It kind of gets stuck right there. Sunday, Monday, and then this morning's run kind of, watch this tilt. It goes a little bit more over the water here. And through Monday, it's tilting, tilting, tilting. And then, boom, it brings a little swing through kind of north central Washington on Tuesday through Wednesday. And so that would be a good look for some more snow through the area right there. The GFS, this is looking at tonight's run of the GFS. It has that trough get stuck up there in BC, and then it kind of shows that next swoop, but not quite as far south as this morning's European run. So the trajectory of that trough is going to make all the difference when it comes to snow. Looking at the European ensembles here, you can see this is looking at Bellingham. There's going to be a couple shots of snow up there in Bellingham. The ensemble mean is this is looking at 24-hour snow totals. So there's snow chances begin on Sunday there, and then they kind of continue through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and there's more snow later in the time frame when there might be like an overriding snow event that ends the whole deal. But there's a lot of variation with snow totals. Let's go ahead and look at the snow total max here. So by the time we get to the end of the day on Tuesday, the ensemble mean on the European in a 10-to-1 ratio is right around 2 inches for Bellingham. But if you look at some of these members, some of them have less, some of them have more, some of them have a lot, some of them have very little. And then looking at Seattle, the ensemble mean, you can actually see that the control run kind of went crazy. There's 2 big storms on the control run of the European, and they give massive totals to the Seattle area. It actually gave Seattle like 15 inches of snow in 24 hours on one of its runs. But you can see that's kind of an outlier on the ensembles. Some of them give 4, some of them give the dusting, some of them give like 8, 2 inches, 3. So there's just a bunch. The ensembles are kind of all over the place when it comes to snow. But looking at the snow total mean at the moment on the European, it looks like the European ensemble doesn't give much snow to Seattle at all Sunday through Monday, and then picks up chances as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I personally think that Sunday, Monday timeframe needs to be watched just a bit more to see if that trough can come a little bit further south. And then looking over at Spokane real quick, you can see that you guys, if you're watching over in Eastern Washington, you're going to get multiple chances of snow out there with an ensemble mean of about 2 inches per shot out there. And your snow total on the ensembles is, by the end of the day on Monday, about 3 to 4 inches or so. And then by the end of the week, you guys could be close to an extra foot of snow. Looking at temperatures for Spokane, it's still looking like you guys are going to get pretty cold. Maybe not as long duration cold as we were initially thinking, but there could be a couple days in the middle of next week where you have highs in the teens and you can still get below freezing. But if we look at this, there's a lot of variation. Basically, for the temperature max, by the time we get out to Wednesday, some of the members show it being close to 40 degrees for a temperature max. Some of the models show it being like down to negative 20, which is nuts. So, anyways, there's a bit of disagreement in the models with just how cold it's going to get still, with just how much snow we're going to get. But it's not looking like all hope is lost if you love snow. So keep your head up. If you are not a fan of snow and you're not a fan of cold, you should rejoice that this run a couple days ago has trended less severe. And what we're looking at now is kind of a less favorable trajectory trough, but we could still get some snow in here. I think the area that is going to probably score the best out of this in Western Washington is up in Whatcom County. Maybe the San Juan Islands, possibly Skagit County too. Southwest BC is, I think, going to get in on the action, and east of the Cascades for sure. But for areas further south in the I-5 corridor, we're just going to have to keep on watching. Okay, I'm going to look at some of your comments now. I've done enough talking for the moment. Thank you to everyone sending stars. I can hear that coming through. Thank you, Cheryl Marie, for the stars. Thank you, Heather Ulrich, for the stars. I'm going to scroll back on the Facebook comments here. Jamie McPherson says she's super stoked to hear my take on this. Yeah, I'm not sure how much snow Seebeck is going to get this time, Jamie, but we shall see. Yeah, honestly, this has been kind of a wild ride. I couldn't believe that we went. I'm going to go back and look at what the European model did here. So, I mean, not too long ago, it was showing. I can't go back any further. I'll go to the most current run here. Oh, okay, we're about to see where the 0Z European is going right now. So this is looking at a brand new European run here. But what I was just about to say is just a few days ago, like on Sunday, it was showing this trough way back to the east, barely even affecting our area with the exception of areas east of the Cascades. And then it did a slow trend to the west, and it eventually came to the point where it showed like a perfect trajectory right over Washington State, which I'll show you one more time if you're just joining on. It showed this perfect trajectory. It had it way east, barely even affecting the area, to like this perfect trajectory. And then what it ended up doing was trending it further to the north to where we currently are now, which is here. So, okay, fresh off the press here, new European run. Let's see how this is looking compared to earlier today. So we can take a look at the 18. So it's pretty close to where the 18Z European run had it in position. Let's take a look at the colder air here compared to the 12Z. Okay, so by the morning on Sunday, it appears that it has the colder air about just as far south as it showed this morning, but maybe a little bit more cold air going over the water. And as I always like to say, guys, if you're watching on Facebook and you haven't done so already, go ahead and heart this post if you love snow. Go ahead and wow this post if you hate snow. And I'm just going to say, if you like snow and you're watching on Twitter, go ahead and give the video a like. And also post what you're hoping will happen with this. Yeah, put that in the comment, what you guys are hoping will happen. And if you have any questions, feel free to post that in the comments as well. Okay, so you guys are getting to see the pace that these models come out. Like, it's kind of slow watching these things come out. But there's 4 separate runs a day that run on the European. 2 of them have longer runs that go out to 240 hours out, excuse me. And then the other two go out 90 hours. Okay, we have a couple more hours here. Okay, while we're waiting for this, I am going to look at more of your comments here. Looking at YouTube. How about snow in Blaine area next Monday through Friday? I think Greg Johnson, you guys probably have a pretty good chance of getting a bit of snow out there in Blaine, for sure. Stevens Pass Corridor Mountain, we need some more snow up there, Chris Nelson says on YouTube. Yeah, I think you'll probably get some more snow out of this for sure. All right, looks like you guys started a Stars Party Challenge over on Facebook. Essentially, if people give enough stars in the next 5 minutes, Facebook will give me a bit of a bonus, if you guys are curious what that means. All right, looking at more of your comments on Facebook over here. Deborah Porsche says, I could use more snow. Thanks for the update. No problem. The video should not be freezing. I have not dropped any frames on this live stream, so it might be a connection on your end if the video is freezing. Debbie Lease, thanks for the stars. Wade says, what about Monroe? Honestly, I can't say much about specifics anywhere south of Whatcom County at this point. Like Monroe, Lake Stevens, Gig Harbor, I see all of your comments. I wish I could give you guys exactly what's going to happen in Spanaway. I think by the time we get to Saturday, we're going to have a better idea of what snow totals are going to be Sunday through Monday. I think there's going to be a better chance of bigger snow totals from about maybe Skagit County north, but there's a chance that the snow could come further south with the initial first bit of Arctic air that starts approaching the region. Not sure what's going to happen in Auburn just yet, but I mean, snow is possible, cold is possible. Looking at more of your comments here. Eric Allen posted a comment about the weather apps, and he's kind of laughing at them and all the different posts about them. Yeah, the weather apps can kind of, if you love snow and you love cold, they can kind of be the apps can be jerks, man. They're kind of like flirtatious when it comes to the weather, and then they're like, nah, I'm not actually going to give you that cold and snow that you want. Those mean weather apps. Courtney Keel says she would love a white Christmas. You know what? Me too. I don't know how much snow Monroe is going to get, but there's definitely a chance of getting some as we go into next week. We'll just have to see how the models trend. I'm just looking at your comments right now if you're wondering why I'm just kind of staring off into space right now. Okay. What about Port Orchard? Timmy says, I think it's going to get colder next week, and there's going to be chances of snow, possibly, depending on the track of this trough that it eventually does take. If it keeps on trending further north, further south is going to be in not as great of shape. Okay, we can look at more of the European run here. More of the European run has ran. Let's see what it's doing. Oh. I don't know, but it seems to me like it looks like it might be just a hair further south. So I'm gonna look at this 12Z run real quick. Okay, so tonight's run on the European is just a smidge further south with that trough. So again, if this trough were to instead be locked up in BC and we're just to trend a little bit further south and have it coming like off central BC back into southwest Washington, that would be about perfect. But this morning where it had it by Sunday at 4 p.m. is what we're looking at. It had it coming off and kind of right there on the Canadian border. And now with the most recent run that's running, it has it with a bit more over water and a little bit further south into about the middle part of Washington. So there's a bit more cold air coming out over the water now with this run into Washington State. This could play favorably for a bit more snow on Sunday. So let's see what we're looking at snow-wise right now. Boom. Okay, so looking at the 12Z. Shoot. 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to look at the 12Z real quick. The 12Z had more of like a rain-snow mix. I'm going to zoom further into Washington State here. The 12Z had a bit more of a rain-snow mix up in Skagit County, Snohomish County, King County by 4 p.m. on Sunday. And now with this new 0Z run of the European, it has it being all snow now on this model run. It might change with future runs, but it has it being all snow now by 4 p.m. in places like Northeast Jefferson, North Kitsap, Island County, Snohomish County, North King. As we go through the night, it has snow continuing in places like Snohomish County, North King, and mountains. This looks snowier to me. I'm gonna run the loop through, and then we'll look at this evening snow totals. So it starts snow. This European run starts snow in the mountains by about in the afternoon on Saturday. Continues that through Saturday night. Brings a bit of a rain-snow mix down to the I-5 corridor by early Sunday morning. And then this might be a bit of a convergence zone or something here. And then it continues snow in parts of the I-5 corridor through Saturday morning. Looking at snow totals between now and Monday afternoon, which has more snow coming into Whatcom County and Skagit County by Monday afternoon. It gives about 5 inches of snow to places like Mount Vernon. It doesn't give a whole lot of snow to places like Whatcom, but that could easily change. Gives about 2 to 3 to places like Arlington. Same for Lake Stevens. A little bit more maybe for Monroe. And a bit more for like the higher elevations of the King Snohomish County line. But again, all of this is bound to change, but I'm just trying to show you guys that not all hope is lost. As a matter of fact, this is a step in the right direction if we want colder weather and snowier weather with tonight's European run, but it's still not showing what it showed on Monday. Just looking at the temperatures for Sunday here now. So Sunday, I'm just going to focus on Everett for a second. It gets up to 36 by 10 a.m. By 1 p.m. it gets down to 35. By 4 p.m. it gets down to, actually 7 p.m. it gets down to 33. And then it drops it below freezing with snow falling that night. And then on Monday, it only has it getting up to 33. So taking a look, I'm going to click on this right here. On this morning's run, let me see. Looking at Seattle now. Yeah. Sorry guys, the reason why I'm not talking very much right now is because this is the first time I've looked at tonight's run. I haven't had enough time to really process it. You guys are watching this live with me as it comes in. So it brings that initial trough a little further south on Sunday, but then it kind of retreats back to the north. And that's why we're not seeing a further southward progression with those colder temps going into Monday. So that's a little bit of a bummer for you South Sounders, if you're watching. So I bet you can see that on this too. Yep, look at that. So on Sunday night, it brings some colder air over the water back into central and north Washington. And then as we go through the day on Monday, it retreats the cold air further north, which is a bummer if you want snow further south. But there's brutally cold air up there in BC. And what happens next could be that some of this cold air does come back down into Washington. Okay, so now that we've watched more of this run come in, I'm going to look at some more of your questions here. Jeremy Wall asked, why are models having a hard time with cold air? That's a great question. I think some of it has to do with these are just harder patterns to predict for the models for the most part. And there's some variables that I honestly don't think I even understand that factor into it. But especially for Western Washington, like due to the nature of our topography, the mountains, the Puget Sound, the Olympic Mountains, the Strait of Juan de Fuca, the Fraser River Valley that gives us our cold air, and the fact that we really do need a favorable trough trajectory to get cold air down into Western Washington. It's really tough to predict all that. Okay, looking at more of your questions here now. Thank you, Tammy Jorgensen. By the way, let me know how the quality of the stream has been. I see that some of you guys are having issues with buffering. Thank you so much for the stars. Tammy Jorgensen, thank you so much for the stars. Tegan Yarbrough, thank you so much for the stars. Jen Swift. Port Angeles, I think, could get some snow out of this, especially if there ends up being any upslope flow. Juan de Fuca straight effect snow type setup, but we'll have to see. My sister says if we could just postpone snow until Christmas, that'd be sweet. Thanks for the stars, Christy Carmichael. Appreciate that. Allison King, maybe a white Christmas. By the way, all that is needed for a white Christmas, the definition doesn't mean that snow is actively falling on Christmas. What it means is that there's at least 1 inch of snow on the ground. So even if it's raining and there's 1 inch of snow on the ground, that's still a white Christmas. And Brenda Stroisk, I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. I wouldn't lose all hope yet if you live in Southwest Washington. It's just right now, with the way the models are looking, it's not looking the best for down there, but that could easily change. All right, let's look at the next step of the European, see what it's doing. Okay, compared to this morning, I think further out looks a little worse if you like cold and snow. So we'll have to see how that keeps going. But if you're a snow lover here, this is what I'll do. I'll zoom in on Washington with the snow totals so we can still hold on to that glimmer of snow hope. Okay, I'll leave it there for now. Coney says her friends in Anchorage have a crazy amount of snow. Yeah, I think they just had some record-breaking snow. Okay, Amy says there's no issues with the live stream. Sweet, on her end. Okay, great. Perfect video. That's what I like to hear. Awesome, guys. Thanks for that feedback. And I'm just going to say it one more time. If you're watching over on Facebook, if you love snow and you haven't done so yet, please heart this post. If you hate snow, wow this post. I'll go back and I'll look at the reactions after this and I'll see what the spread is on that. Wade Ross says the actual jolt of colder air comes in after Monday. Local news says it, but you know. Yeah, Wade. I mean, that's what the models have been showing. I'm not super confident just yet because that's still so far out, you know. Like, I'm more concerned about what's going to happen this weekend into the early part of the week. And then we'll see how cold it actually does get. Thanks for the stars, Elise. In the Lake Stevens area, Dave Durkee asks, how much snow total accumulation do I anticipate? I really just want to say I don't completely know. I don't have high enough confidence to give a very solid prediction yet, but I think we're going to get some snow. But how much, I just don't know. Catherine Macy, I do prefer the European model, as do most people in the weather community that do any sort of forecasting or looking at the weather models. It just tends to have a better track record with accuracy. Heidi, I'm not quite sure if Camino is going to get in on this or not, but they could for sure. So Nate Schaefer asks, how do the models get information for temperatures aloft? We kind of came up with airplanes probably all have temperature sensors that report when we talked about it at work. Yeah, so airplanes, they are able to collect weather data as they're flying. Also, around the world, they send weather balloons up into the air that can measure wind speed, wind direction, the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and the changes in temperature as it goes up. But for data over the oceans, we rely heavily on air travel. Justin Parker says he's streaming on the 75-inch TV and the quality is great. And that's what I like to hear. Cool. And by the way, for all of you over on Facebook, I'm also streaming over on YouTube. And for all of you over on YouTube, I'm also streaming on Facebook. So you can kind of choose whatever you fancy. Okay, folks. I've kind of gone through your comments. I'm sorry if I didn't answer them, but I've got a wife that would love to hang out with me. So I'm going to call it a night here in just a second. But thanks so much for joining on. Thanks for your support with sending the stars. If you're watching over on YouTube and you're wondering why the super chat option isn't there, it should hopefully be there in the next week or so once I'm able to enable that over there. But if you enjoyed watching this video over on YouTube, let me know. Let me know if there's something you think I could do better. Let me know if you thought I did horrible in any areas. Let me know what you'd like to see with the weather. Leave a like for the video if you liked it, and consider giving me a subscription and ring the bell so you can get notifications for when we go live if you would like to see it. And I am going to go ahead and sign out right after we take one more look at the GFS and what it's doing in the upper air pattern here. So we can look at one more day. We're looking out 7 days now. Ew, man. Wow. It trended way worse. Wait. Yeah. Wow. Oh, man. I'm gonna loop through the 12Z real quick just to double check. Okay, so 168. Yeah, it's not quite as good. So yeah, the middle of next week is definitely not set in stone. The temperatures, the snow forecast for the middle of next week. There's a lot of things that could change and go wrong. It's kind of I would like to talk about the details as to why, but so the 0Z European still does have a snow event on Tuesday, though. That's worth noting. And that would probably bring some decent snow to the area if this keeps up. Yeah, all hope is not lost. It's just not looking like fantastic like it was a couple days ago. But there's, I think, going to be a couple shots of snow. And hey, if you're still watching, Brenda, the European does give Southwest Washington a bit of snow on Tuesday into Wednesday. Okay. Now, Michael Snyder's awesome. By the way, if you're watching and you don't already watch Pacific Northwest Weather Watch, I highly suggest going over to Michael Snyder's YouTube and watching all of his videos too when he uploads. He puts out great material. Anyways, folks, I'm starting to tap out here, getting tired. I would like to see my wife for a little bit. I haven't hung out with her pretty much all day. I got home from work just like 30 minutes ago and wanted to hop on here and give you guys an update because I know I haven't given you much of one for the last couple days. But thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I will try my best to keep you guys updated as time goes on. And yeah, have a fantastic night. I shall see you. Adios.